Welcome to the July 22nd, 2020 meeting of the Hyde Park Zoning Board of Appeals. Will each member of the board confirm that he is alone or that no one is present that may influence his vote? As called, please respond yes or no. Will the secretary call? And she's still muted. You're muted, Linda. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, I was before. I don't know what happened.
And the rest of you will have to unmute yourself too so you can answer a question.
Okay, you ready? All right, Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
Jim Agrawal,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes.
And,
Rich isn't here
No.
yet.
okay, Rich Perkins.
Okay.
So I'll put absent for now.
Hopefully he'll arrive. I've confirmed with the Zoning Board's counsel that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's March 13th, 2020 Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting, and a transcript will be provided at a later time. I've done a roll call of the board members, and there's a quorum present for this meeting. I've also confirmed with the zoning secretary that this meeting has been duly noticed. We have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notices on the town's bulletin boards and news organizations, etc., and posting notices on the town's agenda center of its website. We'll now commence with the Pledge of Allegiance. Because of the audio synchronization, the only person you'll hear will be me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Perkins, please unmute yourself. You're muted. Matter of fact, everybody is muted, which is not good, as we'll need your participation.
Unmuted.
Good, excellent. You arrived a little bit late for the confirmation that you're alone and no one is there to influence your vote. Would you affirm that?
Be quiet over there. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Glad we got that straightened out. Okay, so our next meeting will be held on August 26, 2020. And our first, Rich, you missed a little bit of a procedural process. When I ask for a motion, I'm going to ask people to raise their hands and I'll choose someone because we haven't been able to get it straight who's making the motions because we have such anxiety to be the motion maker. So our first item is that we need an approval for the May 27th minutes. Will someone make that motion? Dave McNary? Dave McNary?
Yes, I move.
You move to make the motion. Thank you. Will someone second the motion?
Jim.
Rich Perkins. Speak, Rich.
Yes, I second the motion.
Okay, raising a hand is not enough. You have to actually utter some words. Okay, now we got that straight. Now we got to do it all again. Will someone make a motion to approve the June 24th minutes?
Motion, Jim Agrawal.
Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Jim made the
Rich
motion
Perkins.
and Rich Perkins did the second. We got that. Okay. So our first item on our agenda this evening is the enclave. A quick review, it's an extension of a variance. On March 22nd, 2017, the applicant was granted a variance for the following: changing average density from 2.5 acres per dwelling unit to 1.4 acres per dwelling unit. In the Greenbelt District, the applicant is seeking an extension of the time in which to exercise this variance pursuant to section 108-33.5F of the code. The public hearing was closed on June 24th. Is the applicant's representative with us tonight?
Yes, I am.
And that's Ken Casamento,
Yes, from LRC.
and you're representing, okay? Has the secretary received any public comments?
No.
And are there any questions from the board?
No.
No.
Okay. Are there any questions from the attorney?
No, we prepared a resolution for you to consider voting on tonight.
Yes, we have your resolution that you've prepared. Are there any questions from the zoning officer? And you're muted, by the way. So you might unmute yourself so we can hear you. Okay. And we have a resolution. Well, Mr. McNary, please move the resolution.
Resolution dated July 22nd, 2020, resolution 17-03Z. Whereas on March 22nd, 2017, by resolution 17-03Z, the applicant 54 Hyde LLC was granted a variance to change the average density in the Greenbelt District from 2.5 acres per dwelling unit to 1.41 acres per dwelling unit, the variance, in order to re-subdivide 70.51 acres into 25 residential lots with 50 dwelling units, the project. Whereas the zoning board of appeals has considered the circumstances warning such an extension. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby grants a 1-year extension of time in which to commence the activity authorized under the variance to March 22nd, 2021.
May I have a second to the motion?
Brendan Lawler.
Mr. Lawler? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you say the words that you wish
I
to
second the motion. I
Thank
second
you.
the motion.
We have to hear the words. Our attorney likes to listen to you. Okay, will the secretary please poll the board?
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes.
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes. So, Mr. Casamento, we are through. You have your extension,
Thank you.
okay?
Appreciate your time.
And if are you representing the locust this evening?
I am not. No.
Oh, I wonder who is.
I just had a question, Herb. Did we
You're
vote
on.
on the minutes?
Say again, Brendan?
Did we vote on the minutes?
I think
Yes,
Or
so.
we
we
just
did.
moved them?
No.
Oh,
we
okay.
didn't. That's a good question. Maybe I didn't.
I know we moved.
We moved. I think you're right. All right, let's go back.
I was under the impression you did a voice vote, but we can just have a motion right now to approve the May and June minutes, and then
Yes.
you can all say aye.
I think you're right. I skipped that step, and thanks for pointing that out. All in favor of approving the May and June minutes, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for that catch.
Sure.
Okay. So our next application is for the John and Kim Stouffer. Are they with us this evening? I see a couple of folks here. We still don't have their audio yet. Are the representatives on mute? Good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So moving along. Next application is for John and Kim Stouffer. This is a variance from section 108-43G2 to allow the construction of a new driveway within the 100-foot stream corridor, changing the undisturbed corridor from 100 feet to 0 feet in the Greenbelt District. The public hearing was closed on June 24th. And I see the applicant's representatives are here with us this evening. Are there any questions from the board on this application at this time?
Yes, I have a question in terms of the culvert that you're using for the road. I think it's a 40-inch and 100-year, you're using 100-year flood statistics.
Correct.
With the realization of how weather is changing and how it's going to change. 100 years is now 10 years. Do you really feel that the 40-inch culvert is adequate for that? And if it isn't, what's the impact of a backup of that?
Well, I think that the 40-inch is indeed more than adequate because the flow for the 100-year flood from that stream on the inlet side of the culvert is only about 24 inches deep. So, you know, it's really over designed.
What's the drainage coverage, the area that stream is covering, you know?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around, I'm going to say 6 acres. It's not very big.
So that's 6'4", that's 240,000 square feet, roughly. Yeah. I'm just wondering if you get 3 or 4 inches of rain, if that culvert's gonna be adequate. We have seen that problem in other culverts in the area where it backs up and it's caused a lot of flooding.
I don't believe there's going to be any problem with it.
For what it's worth, there is the original roadway that has its culvert there that's been there for a number of years, and it's flowing through probably a 12-inch culvert, and it's been that way, you know, for a number of years now, and I don't know of any impacts or anything that have been done flood-wise with that size culvert that's in there now. The culvert that we're going to be putting in is going to be upstream of that existing culvert that is there now, that's been there. Does that make sense?
I understand that. Let me ask, on the entry side of the culvert, is the house on that side of it?
Yes.
So if that culvert cannot handle a flood water, the house is likely to get flooded.
No, that's incorrect.
It was Pete, correct me, but I think when I reviewed the plans, I believe you designed for the overtopping to not fail.
Exactly. Yes, and the house is much higher than the road or the driveway at the crossing. So, and there's an additional culvert that's between the main crossing and the house that picks up any overflow. It's an 18-inch. Yeah, the house is definitely not going to flood out because it's a lot higher than the road is.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
Okay, in that case, any questions from our attorney?
Not at this time. Once again, we prepared a draft resolution for your consideration. I want to point out that while we had circulated a draft earlier, there were edits, and a more recent version was sent to the ZBA secretary this afternoon. I just want to ask whether or not that was received by the board members.
Yes.
All right.
I passed it out as soon as I got it.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to confirm since it was shorter notice.
Excellent. Any further questions from our zoning officer?
No.
Okay. So we have a resolution. Mr. Lawler, please move the resolution.
Certainly. The date, July 22nd, 2020, resolution number 20-09Z. Whereas the applicants, John and Kim Stofa, have submitted an application for an area variance to permit the construction of a driveway over a tributary to the Indian Kill to serve a residence on a property located at 109 South Cross Road. The project, identified as tax parcel 6166-01-484793 in the Greenbelt District, the property. And whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings in accordance with section 267B of the town law and Hyde Park zoning law section 108-33.6B2 regarding the requested variance. 1, the requested variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The requested variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties because of its location and design. The culvert in question will be located deep within the approximately 89-acre parcel. The culvert will be over 300 feet from the nearest neighborhood parcel and roughly 1,000 feet from the nearest road. Existing topography and vegetation at the property will heavily obscure or block from view the driveway's crossing of the tributary. 2, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. The requested variance would allow the applicants to construct a driveway culvert within the tributary of the Indian Kill in order to access the site of a proposed residence on the northern half of the property. The site was formerly used for a residence as well. The applicants wish to redevelop this residential site with a new single-family dwelling. In planning this new residence, the applicants could not continue the use of the existing driveway serving the property because its entrance onto South Cross Road lacks adequate sightlines. Relocation of the driveway entrance necessitates crossing the tributary at a different location from the existing drive. There is no way to develop the existing residential site without crossing the tributary. The applicants could locate their proposed development south of the tributary, but requiring this would eliminate the use of the majority of the parcel and would prevent the applicants from utilizing the former residential site. 3, the requested variance is considered numerically substantial as the required stream corridor will be removed in its entirety. However, as discussed herein, the impacts of the requested variance will not be substantial. Number 4, requested variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the general neighborhood or district. The tributary is an intermittent seasonal stream. The culvert has been designed to have the smallest possible disturbance on the stream area, minimize erosion of the stream banks, and not impede with the flow of the stream. Moreover, development on the property will be subject to stormwater pollution prevention. Development on the property will be, subject to a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which will require the implementation of best practices to further reduce environmental impacts from erosion and sedimentation. Given that there will be limited disturbance to the tributary and that the culvert will not create an impediment to travel by a wildlife alongside or within the stream, the encroachment on the stream buffer will not have a significant adverse effect on the environmental conditions of the neighborhood. While some public comments noted that the construction of the driveway entrance on South Cross Road may result in stormwater runoff on the road or neighboring properties, these concerns do not relate to the requested variance. The applicants could construct a home south of the tributary without the need for the requested variance, and these concerns would remain. 5, these difficulties are self-created. Be it further resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the requested variance subject to the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees and escrow.
May I have a second to the motion?
Second, Jim Agarwal.
Dave McNary,
Yes, second.
thank you very much. The secretary, please poll the board.
James Agarwal,
Yes.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes,
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes. So, Mr. Stover, you're all set. I just wish you good luck when it snows on your very long driveway.
Thank you.
And now we're off to our next application, which is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, folks. Darla Steinhauer and Derek Timms. Okay. I see Mr. Timms bending over there. Hello, Mr. Thames. We don't hear you, Mr. Thames.
I don't think he's in yet.
We see you, but we don't hear you.
Okay.
Hello? Is connecting to audio. It's a good start. Now unmute yourself. You're muted, Mr. Thames. So we can't hear you.
Okay.
Ah, we finally heard him. Good. Okay, so moving along. You're in techie land. The public hearing was closed on June 24th. And we see the applicant's representative, the applicant is here. Has the secretary received any public comments?
No.
Are there any questions from the board?
No.
No.
Okay. Any questions from the attorney?
No.
And any questions from the zoning officer?
No.
So we have a resolution. Mr. Agrawal, please move the resolution. You're muted. You are muted, Jim.
That
There we
better?
go. Yeah, now we can hear you read it.
All right. Resolution to grant area variance Steinhauser and Tim's 541 Creek Road, July 22nd, 2020, resolution 20-12Z. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings with section 267-B of the town law and Hyde Park zoning law 108-33.6B2 regarding the requested variance. 1, the requested variance will not.
Can't hear anything.
I hear him.
You guys can't hear me?
I can.
I can hear you.
You hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You got a problem at your end, Ted.
Oh, I'm fine.
You said you couldn't hear him.
No, I didn't.
Somebody
No,
did.
that was, I
Was that
did.
Ms.
Miss-
Steinhauer?
Oh, didn't see you
Correct.
jump
I'm
in down
actually,
there.
yeah, I'm actually at work. So he was going in and out. So I didn't hear what he said.
I see. We'll continue with the resolution, Jim.
Number 1, excuse me, the requested variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The property contains a one-family dwelling. The requested variance would allow the applicants to place an above-ground pool and deck behind the dwelling. The impact on neighbors from the proposed pool and deck will be mitigated because the property's rear yard is partially screened from view by existing fences and vegetation along the southern, western, and northern borders, along with the house and the garage to the east. There will be no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood because the construction and location of the pool would be in conformance with the area's current pattern of development. Several properties in the areas have pools that appear to be within rear or side yard setbacks. Example, 15 Judy Terrace and 7 Judy Terrace. Number 2, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. The applicants propose constructing a pool and connected deck in their rear yard. The property's rear yard is approximately 35 feet deep, meaning the 25-foot rear yard setback leaves just 10 feet in which to place a pool. This is an inadequate amount of space in which to place a pool and deck. The applicants cannot construct their desired pool and deck without encroaching on the rear yard setback. Number 3, the requested variances may be considered numerically substantial as the permitted dimensions for the required rear yard setback will decrease by 13 feet, which is 52%. However, as discussed herein, the impacts of the requested variance will not be substantial. Number 4, the requested variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the general neighborhood district. The requested variance will allow the construction of a pool and a deck in a previously cleaned and disturbed area. The new construction will result in an insignificant ground disturbance and an insignificant increase in impervious surface area at the site. Moreover, area variances of this type are presumed not to have a significant adverse environmental impact under SECRA. Therefore, the requested variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the environment. Number 5, the difficulties are self-created. Be it therefore resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the requested variance subject to the following condition: payment of all fees and escrow.
May I have a second to the motion?
Brendan Lawler, second.
Brendan Lawler seconds the motion. Secretary, please poll the board.
James Agrawal,
Yes.
Brendan Lawler,
Yes.
David McNary,
Yes,
Richard Perkins,
Yes.
Herbert Sweet.
Yes. We're all done with you, folks. Happy swimming.
Thank you very much and have a
Thank
blessed
you.
day.
Have a great
You
night.
will need to
Yes.
get your building permit.
Yes, I know. I'll be.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Okay. I believe Mr. Peters is here. There he comes. He's
I
muted.
think he's just audio.
you got it.
Okay, our next application is for Kenneth and Renee Hanneberg, who've sold their house to Mr. Peters. And last I've understood that he's making a modification to the application, in which case we'll be taking this up at the next meeting in August when we actually received the modified application and can advertise it. I think I've got that straight. Am I on track, Mr. Logan?
You are. I'd also point out that given that this is an area variance for a residential application, you as the ZBA chair could set a public hearing yourself, provided we get the application materials in on time. However, we can't do that right now because we're still waiting on those materials.
Exactly. So that's the story, Mr. Peters. So we have to go through this process, and so we'll be seeing you next month, and we'll be able to listen to your presentation, and presumably we'd be able to close the public hearing and produce a resolution at the following meeting, unless we run into unforeseen difficulties.
Mr. Peters, do you
Yeah.
have a copy of the building permit application and drawings that were submitted by the Hannebergs?
No, I do not.
Okay, so I'll get that to you. Can Linda email that to you, or do I need to mail it to you?
Well, it can be emailed to me.
Okay, because there was a step that was shown on the left side of the deck behind the garage that extended further into the side yard setback than the application indicated. So I just wanted you to make sure and check that distance from that step off the deck towards the property line. So
No,
that when we advertise, we have the right number.
Yes, I believe that's about 5 feet off the property line.
We'll get you those drawings.
Yep.
Okay. Don't think there's anything else at this time. So we can move along to the next application, which is Michael Lehan. And Linda, what can you tell us about the application?
I talked to Michael this morning and I asked again for a letter that he was withdrawing, and he said he would send it today, and I haven't received anything. Again, so far.
Now it's in Patrick's Court. exactly how we're going to proceed at this point with only a verbal statement.
Given that we have been told by the applicant directly that they are withdrawing the application, I would suggest that the board move to indefinitely table the application. And then when the board receives a written withdrawal, you could just have another brief motion to officially
I
cease your
make a motion that we
consideration.
indefinitely
Yes.
table the request.
Mr. Perkins is very indefinite. May I have a second to the indefinite? Thank you, Mr. Lawler.
Brendan Lawler, yes. Yes, I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so that is the story for Mr. Lehan. And Roy Charter is next.
Hello, Mr. Charter.
Well, I see the words, but I don't see him.
Are you there, Mr. Charter?
He was there earlier.
He
Yeah.
was.
Oh, he's muted.
No, he's worse than, no, he's, yeah, I see him now.
Hello, can you hear me now?
We
Yes.
can hear you, but we don't see you. Did you plan to come in on video or just,
Oh,
There we go.
Aye.
there he is. Okay,
you can't see me?
yeah, but the audio is not good. Mr. Charter?
The bandwidth is not good.
No. We can't hear very well what you're saying.
Maybe he should stop his video and just try audio.
Hello? It was not good?
That sounds a little bit better. Say something so we can tell.
Let me move. Let me move from where I'm at. Hello? It's probably raining out. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Better.
Better?
Yes.
All right,
Say-
I'm out in the rain. All right.
let me hear a sentence so we know we're going to be able to hear what you're saying.
Roy Charter, 15 Rogers Road. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, if the audio doesn't hold up, I understand that what you need to do is shut off the video and just use audio. So we'll see how that works out because we need to hear a little bit from you. Okay? So this is a variance for changing a fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet in the neighborhood district. May I have a motion to resume the public hearing?
A move to resume the public hearing?
Dave McNary makes the motion, and a second.
Jim Agarwal, second.
And Jim Nagwell seconds. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So Mr. Charter, please explain to the board why you need a variance.
Well, neighbor's house. We sit on the hill and we're actually eye level and we look right at each other. So it's kind of like the right thing to do for him. And there's the fence, and as you can
Now, this
see,
is not
his house.
this is not going to work out. Would you, because we're hearing it very, very poorly. Can you shut off your video so we get a better chance at the audio? Because that's what we really need.
How would I do that on this phone? Let me see. Okay.
No.
There we go.
That worked.
Got it?
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So start over. Let's see if we can hear you any better.
Yes, me and my neighbor, our houses sit on top of the hills, and both of our back decks are eye level to each other. So being they have a lot of events in the backyard of their home, and also I'm doing a lot of work in the back of mine, I just felt that it was the fair thing to do to kind of separate us off, and so that when we're on our decks, we don't look at each other. Just figured I'd ask for 2 more feet, so I'm not looking at them and they're not looking at me.
Okay. So as I understand it, Mr. Charter, your main issue and reason for wanting to put up the fence is so that you're unable to see your neighbors on their deck and they're unable to see you from their deck. Is that correct?
Yes, there's basically just privacy. My neighbor is all with it. They're actually kind of happy I'm doing it. It's just a little privacy. They have a pool back there. They have events every weekend. I'm always doing something in my backyard and just kind of give us to each other when we're on our deck. So I figured 8 feet will give me a little bit more there. Wanted to see what you guys would say.
Okay, I think I understood that. That's still a pretty rough copy here. So, Mr. Charter, almost all of us have a view of the properties that surround our own property. For example, from my side porch, I can see my next door neighbor's patio, a children's pool, and other things placed in his backyard for his children. The distance between us is about the same as the distance between your deck and your neighbor's deck, which is over 100 feet as measured by the Dutchess County Parcel Access Map. Now, this board has granted fence height variances, but they have been for neighbors that are far closer, typically about 10 to 20 feet. So can you tell us what is your need for such extraordinary outdoor privacy that 100 feet of separation is not enough?
It's not that it's imperative. I would just figure that if we had a little more privacy, it's like I said, it's not like he's even a bad guy. It's just we're eye level to each other, deck to deck, and I just figured it's kind of the good thing to do. But it's going to be up to you guys. I mean, just figured it'd be the right thing to do so we don't look at each other. But
let me ask you another question. Do you know exactly where your sideline is and where the fence is in relationship to it?
yes, I'm approximately moved in about 9 feet from the property line over onto my side.
Okay. Another thing that you need to know is that the state requires that the local ZBAs inquire if a request for a variance could be avoided by the applicant resolving his need by other measures. So have you considered planting vegetation such as trees and bushes along the sideline to screen the view?
Well, this all started, I had a huge tree that I had to cut down, and I'm trying to keep all vegetation away from my house since it weathers my house and keep it back. I'm actually want more trees down around me. They're either hitting my house or they're making moss go on my roof. So vegetation, I'm trying to push it back as is. That's kind of the reason why the fence is there. I used to have a major tree that almost hit my house and I had to take down. That's not there no more because of that issue. So vegetation, I'd rather stay away from that.
So could the vegetation be placed where the fence is and not where the house is?
That's where the tree was that used to be there. And as I stated, they were starting to deteriorate my house, all the stuff close to the house.
So that was a large tree, apparently. So it would probably have an impact on your roof, but something smaller like a forsythia or lilac would not have that impact that a large tree would. Would that work out?
I'm just not really big into the trees. I just, I trying to keep trees away from the house.
But you could
Trying
do.
to keep any type of vegetation. I'm trying to push my property to.
But you could put some bushes there.
I'd rather not do bushes, so no.
You prefer not to, but it is feasible.
And they've already planned stuff.
They've already my neighbor already put their side of the fence on their side. I personally not into the vegetation.
We did not hear that. Want to repeat that, please?
I said my neighbor on their side of that fence has done that already. About 5 feet from the finished side of the fence, they have done vegetation, a little gardening, mulch. They've done some fancy stuff on their side. As I stated, they're very happy with what I've done as far as to try to give us privacy.
Okay, so let me bring it up to the board now. Board members have any questions?
I do not.
No,
No.
Rich?
Not at this time.
Okay. So is the issue then entirely the visibility of the deck?
Yes, sir.
It is, okay. So I don't know if I'd mentioned it to you this or not, but probably wouldn't hurt to say it again, that the state requires us to grant the minimum variance that would meet the needs of the applicant. And that would be to screen the view of your next door neighbor's deck from your deck. And as you can see from the photograph, I was able to see the deck from your deck, but that's all I saw. So that narrows the issue down entirely. We're now just talking about a deck to deck view shed. So I made the visit and took the pictures there. It's convenient for myself and Mr. Charter, and we live nearby each other. Just wondering, any other board members, would they like to make the visit themselves and take a look or not?
I would like to do that.
Okay.
And so would I.
Mr. Perkins, okay. Any others?
the picture to me is full explanation.
Same
Okay.
here.
Okay. So Brendan and Rich can make arrangements with Mr. Charter offline and see if our zoning officer has any comments.
I was just, it doesn't say on the summary, how long of a segment are you looking for at the higher height? Is it the full length of the fence along the whole side yard, or is it just where you need the screening to the neighbor's deck?
I'm gonna stop it right to where the front gate is. It's not gonna go all the way down. Just from the backyard, the end post, all the way to the thing, just to screen the deck part from deck to deck. But make it look aesthetically correct, though. I don't want to stop it in the middle where it would look terrible on my house. I want to put a nice scallop on top of the fence and make it look pretty and correct. So I wouldn't stop it in the middle. I'd try to make it look aesthetically correct.
So it looks like we're at about 16 to 24 feet if we're 2 or 3 sections.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It would approximately be, if we go 4, it would be 24. If I go 5, it'd be 40. I mean, 32 or 40. Let me look. I'm on the back deck now.
Yeah.
8, 12. We're looking at approximately 18 to 24 feet.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the view would be from the rear corner of the house going back for about three sections. Do I have it correct?
It would probably more look like 4, because if I come from the back section, even though I could dummy that and leave it and do the 3 that matter, because that's all woods the last 2 sections. It's really just the 3 in the middle. So if I just do the 3 in the middle with the scallop, that would handle the silhouette that I'm trying to do.
If I may.
Yes, thank you.
So, Mr. Charter, it sounds like the board members are going to want to take a little bit closer of a look at the site to see exactly what's going on, because as Mr. Sweet said, we do need to grant the minimum necessary. What you were just saying about the length and the aesthetics is very helpful for us. And I think it would be most helpful if you could just send in an email or a brief letter, just so that we have that in writing, and you can say exactly where you need the higher fence and the exact length of what it would end up being. Do you think that's doable?
No problem. So you want me to drop it off at the town hall or email it to to the meeting?
If you could email it to the ZBA secretary, that would be fine.
What would be also helpful, I believe, if you can provide us with a diagram in relationship to the house, so we have a more precise idea of what the needs are. Is that possible?
Whatever you guys need, I'll take care of everybody.
Okay. All right. So
Now, do they get my email so they can schedule as far as when they want to come by the site, or do they just want to stop by? I mean, my wife is always home or somebody's here, but if they want me to be at home, are they going to contact me as far as individual or for them? Because I work as a full-time superintendent. I just need to schedule if they need me to be here. That's all.
well, we have your phone number, and
Okay.
the board members that are going to pay a visit can contact you by phone and make arrangements that are that'll work out for everyone.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So we've heard from the zoning officer and the attorney. Have there been any public comments received by mail or email?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. And is there anyone in the waiting room wishing to comment?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. So the public can see the detail of the application by examining the plans, which are online at the town website. That's hydeparkny.us. Go to departments, then zoning board of appeals, and then to applications. Public comments should be sent to the ZBA secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. Further detail can be found in the legal notice announcing this agenda item. So may I have a motion to adjourn the application to August 26th meeting?
So move to adjourn the open.
Dave McNary recognized, and Dave McNary moves it. May I have a second?
Second, Brendan Lawler.
And
Just to clarify, that was to adjourn the public hearing for the application, correct?
Yes.
adjourn the public hearing. Yes, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, Mr. Charter, you off to see the other board members and then be back to see us in the August 26th meeting. Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Sounds
Thank you, sir.
good, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Yep.
Okay. And now it's the next application is Locust on Hudson. And I see Andre Ballas is connecting and Rod Morrison is connecting. And they look a little disconnected at the moment.
Thank you, everybody. Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Can we hear Mr. Morrison? Hello?
Yes, sir. I am here. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay. Good. Very good. Hope we can hear you better than the last applicant. That was rather taxing. So for the locust on the Hudson, there's a variance to allow construction within the stream corridor, changing the undisturbed area from 100 feet to 0 feet for the construction incursion in the waterfront district. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion, Jim Agarwal.
And may I have a second?
Dave McNary.
As all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and Mr. Morrison has come and gone.
Nope, I am hopefully back.
I hear you.
Okay.
Am I there?
We can hear you, but
There
now
you
we can
go.
see you. Okay.
All right.
Okay, good. You know, it's a mess of internet. I'm sorry. So maybe in the northern sections of the county, it just doesn't work right. So in the, if I can,
They speak to,
obviously we're in it's a public hearing element. My client, Andre Balaz, is on the phone. I believe he's in here somewhere.
Yes.
The story of the project is that the area in question, and if I'm looking away from you because I'm looking at my screen, as you enter into the project, there was an area that as you come prior to the old New York Central Railroad Bridge going into the property itself, had become less usable. The owner of the property felt that it made a lot of sense aesthetically, ecologically, to clean it out, recreate a pond that used to be there, according to some old mapping. And that one thing led to another. There was excavation in the area and earthwork in the area. Ultimately, that exceeded anything that normally would be done by a person on their property. It ultimately resulted in a stop work order from the town, noting that there was sediment on the road from trucks coming in and out. An inspection around about Thanksgiving, I believe. So we were contacted by the owner just shortly after Thanksgiving, I think the day after Thanksgiving, with stop work orders. And they asked us to take a look at this and see what we could do. The owner was very respectful of the town and of their laws, but they didn't think that for what they were doing out there, he didn't believe that there was a permit required. So we came in as an engineering firm here. We applied to the contractor the requirement to do erosion and sediment controls as you would in any project that had been issued a permit. We have, from that day forward, have issued to the town, to TAD, to the town engineer, reports as if we had a stormwater permit. And we have chronicled basically through that every week our progress towards stabilizing the property that was affected. So what the owner had done was they had recreated a pond area, basically to the southern portion of this property that replicated and basically in essence improved what was there prior to this. There was work also north of this entrance drive that was intended to be supporting of animal life that was in the area. In essence, it was all for a beautification project of the property. And once I get done, I'll let Mr. Balaz talk to this. So the key part of this was for the area that was dug out was to let water come into a pond. And that pond was off the North Statsburg Creek. So as it sits right now, there is the North Statsburg Creek flows through the property as it did before the project. It goes to the north, following pretty much parallel to the railroad. There is an intersection where the North Statsburg Creek edge was affected to create the water, to create the ability of the water to flow into the pond. And that's as it exists today. And the ZBA came out, did a site walk, saw the area. So there's really two aspects to the application. One is forgiveness, if you will, in arrears, a permit to affect the area within 100 feet of the Statsburg Creek, but also there is the element that's required to finish the pond area, which honestly wasn't known when it was originally created, what we would need to do. So what we've created here and shown on your plan was an area that that is an overflow of this pond. So the pond would fill up naturally from the creek. As the creek goes up and goes down, the pond would go up and go down, but we also need an overflow or a low area so the pond can flow out back to the creek. And that area, according to our plan, temporary impact area requested to finalize restoration is about 5,800 square feet. Within the buffer, the 100-foot buffer, that's would normally someone would apply for a permit to achieve. There, we did apply in the interim to the Army Corps of Engineers. I had met months ago with Tad and Pete about this topic, and they had correctly informed us that we needed to go to the Army Corps to achieve a permit to do this work in this area. And again, you know, as I gave the narrative in the application about the client and their intentions, the intentions were simply to restore the area, to have a more aesthetic, beautiful entrance, to reestablish a pond that they felt that existed previously. And there's a great photo from, I think it's 1910 or 1914, that shows that this was originally a pond that must have kind of filled in or mucked in over time.
Excuse me a minute. Is that a photo or was that a map?
It was a photograph of a map.
Oh, well, all right.
That was the one that you showed us on the visit.
That's the one that Mr. Balas showed you on the visit. Right. Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
right.
so it's
right.
a map.
Right. So on our end, just the engineering side, again, when we received the stop work order in November around Thanksgiving, we stepped in as a firm. We instituted all the erosion sediment controls, the stabilization, the seeding. At this point, the areas that were open are largely vegetated. Honestly, there's grass growing 2 feet high at this point in most areas. So there were some areas over the course of the winter that needed additional stabilization, but it really became, from my point of view, my task was to satisfy Tad and Pete to support the erosion sediment control permit. They indicated that we needed to develop an entire stormwater pollution prevention plan because of the area affected, which we did do. The town has it. We've replied to one round of their comments. We have a couple more to satisfy, but in essence, the area is 95% stabilized at this time. So again, the application we're here for, in part, is forgiveness, but it is also in part to complete the stabilization of the corner of the North Statsburg Creek and this created pond, so it's stable for now and forever.
The pond to the north of the road, was that there before, or was that a new pond? And that feeds into the pond on the south, is that correct?
It doesn't feed into the pond on the south. So the pond that I've shown on the plan that's actually holds water is not connected to the one on the north side of the drive. The one on the north side of the drive is, in essence, it's not it doesn't even actually really work as a pond. It's more of a holding area temporarily for the water before it infiltrates.
Okay.
That's, I think, what they call that in some places is a farm pond.
I,
Have you
I
heard
would,
that?
I would agree. That's,
Yes.
I don't think it could be anything but that. It's not going to hold water long term. No.
Yeah. I just mentioned that because my wife had that experience of growing up on a farm, and the farmers typically would dig holes and they'd fill up with rain, and they fed their cattle that way, or whatever farmers do.
So the
And-
pond,
Sure.
the pond on the south side, which is really the pond we're talking about, was originally there, was originally an overflow for the creek at times. Is that fair to say?
You know, I think that my view of the map that Mr. Balaz has, that was it was framed on his wall in
Right.
his house, showed that the pond was connected to the stream. So I don't want to infer what actually happened, but in many cases, these things get mucked in and
But that
filled
pond
up.
itself will be a part of flood control for the creek, will it not?
Actually, it will, yes, because the creek, it's in essence offline from the stream, so the stream will flow through and continue to do so. It has the ability to fill the pond area, but when the creek is low, the pond will be low.
But knowing in the area you're in, you're draining from a large area up, probably east of 9, you're bringing a
Mhm.
lot of water down through that creek. And with the rains that we're receiving, that really becomes a holding pond in a way for when that creek overflows or when that creek gets high.
Sure, it's offline area. It's I calculated there was something like 0.85 square miles of drainage above it that goes to the North Statsburg Creek, but it doesn't flow through the pond critically, which was part of the original construction, which eliminated itself. That the creek, North Statsburg Creek, is not interrupted by the construction. It's just an area where it's an extra storage area for this.
Right. And should your pond become full, it then can discharge into the creek.
Absolutely, yes, it does. It goes over as we show, and again, I'm looking away from the screen to my plan, but we have an area where it overflows back into the North Statsburg Creek. That's the area that we have the Army Corps permit to complete.
Okay. Would it be fair to say also that this also helps? I mean, you have the creek running alongside the railroad tracks. One of the concerns that the railroads will have is the how well that creek can hold overflow. Your pond actually adds some backup to that in that area.
Absolutely does. About 500,000 gallons of storage, yes.
Okay.
Actually, as I recall from our site visit, that connection is at the very south west corner of the property.
Yes.
That's correct. It's really right at the state property line. Correct. Yep.
Okay, and the pond that Dave brought up to the north, it's not of consideration. It's disconnected, and it's not going to enter into
Right.
this.
And that doesn't enter into this this variance.
No, it
Okay.
shouldn't. Okay, because it's disconnected. All right, where do we stand here? Going to skip around a little bit. Do we have any other board members wishing to question or comments?
No.
Okay. Do we have any written communications from the public?
No, we don't.
Okay. Are there any members of the public in the waiting room wishing to participate?
No, there are not.
Okay, I have to ask. So at this point, let's see. Mr. Logan, do you have any comments?
No, I was going to discuss the state of the other applications, but the applicant did a fine job of doing that. So I'm
Okay.
fine.
Okay, good. Oh, by the other application, you meant the enclave?
No, I was referring to, they're talking with Tad Pete about getting a SWIP. instead.
Yes, the drainage aspect of it. Okay. All right. So Tan, do you have any further questions?
No, I don't. I'm pleased to see that the creek is back in its original alignment, and that this is becoming an overflow. I think that works much better for the creek and for the applicant. I think you achieve your aesthetic desires for that property by, having the pond there, and yet it's not that disruptive of the environmental aspects of the creek.
Okay. So I don't see any loose ends here. We seem to have this pretty well nailed down. So let me make the following statement. Who said, huh?
Move this.
Who was speaking? Apparently no one. All right, must be a side comment. The public can see the detail of the application by examining the plans, which are online at the town website. That is hydeparkny.us. Go to departments, then to Zoning Board of Appeals, and then to applications. The ZBA will accept public comments following the close of the public hearing to be received by 4 p.m. on August 3rd, 2020. They should be sent to the ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. The ZBA is expecting to have a resolution at the August 26th meeting. So may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing. Brendan Lawler.
Brendan Lawler has made the
I'll
motion.
second that.
And Rich Perkins has seconded the motion. This is going very nicely, guys. And may I have a vote to accept? All in favor, raise your hands and say aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
all right. So we will see you folks next week or next month. And
We can get a close on it.
yep, that should be the end of it.
All right, very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Thank you very
both.
much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Valance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
All right, our final application. It's only been an hour and 10 minutes. It hasn't been too grueling. And I see our applicant is here on the telephone.
Hello.
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 This is Sue Macy speaking.
Yes, McDonald, yes.
Okay. So this is a variance changing a side yard setback from 5 feet to 2 feet to maximize the usable space in the Hamlet Core District. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
David McNary makes the motion. May I have a second?
Second, Jim Agarwal.
Jim Agwell makes a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This is Macy. Could you explain to the board why you need a variance?
Yes. Well, to bring it in 5 feet closer to the house would be a problem because of the fact that we burn wood. That's our main source of heat for the house. And we bring in wood, have to bring it, cut it, and split it, and then it has to dry. And that's the only area is right there where we do the wood. Because we, not only that, it would be, it would cause us a lot of walking and carrying the wood if we have to go too far with it. But that's the most reason why is because we split and have to have the wood seasoned in that area, and then we just put it would put it right into the shed.
I understand it's a pre-existing shed. that we're looking to get a variance to legalize what's currently in place. Am I not correct?
Well, we had a canopy there for the longest time, and the canopy constantly kept deteriorating away. And that's when I ordered the shed. And what happened is I didn't know I needed a permit for it. So the shed is there. The inspector told me that we had to put the fire-coated sheetrock in, which we did, on the outside wall, and also that we had to anchor it down, which we did.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture from Google Earth. It looks like a white roof next to
Yeah, that was the canopy that we had a long time. That's what we had there. And it kept deteriorating away. I had to keep replacing it. That's where it would be at.
So you just replaced the canvas structure with a wood structure
Right.
in the exact same
Exactly.
location.
Yes.
Okay. I think I understand your situation. And you have a small parcel there, and
Yes.
you can't put everything right up against your door. And looks
Right.
like you've got quite a wood cutting business there, processing business from this picture.
Well, that's how much it takes. We have electric heat. We do not use the electric heat in the wintertime. We only use wood. So we burn about 6 to 7 cords of wood a year in the wintertime.
Well, more power to you. I used to
Yeah.
to
It's
cut
a lot of work.
I used to cut and chop wood myself, and
Yeah.
very tiring. I don't do
Yes,
it anymore.
It is.
Okay. So where do we stand here? All right. Do we have any written comments from the public?
No, we don't.
No, we don't. And do we have any members of the public in the waiting room that wish to participate?
No, we don't.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board?
I do not.
No,
Those are no's, no yeses? Okay, presume that that's satisfied there. Mr. Logan, do you have any comments?
Only that I believe the public hearing could be closed.
Yes, I haven't got that quite that far yet. Any questions from the zoning officer?
No,
Okay. The public can see the details of this application by examining the plans, which are online at the town website. That is hydeparkny.us. Go to departments, then zoning board of appeals, and then to applications. The ZBA will accept public comments following the close of the public hearing to be received by 4 p.m. on August 3rd, 2020. They should be sent to ZBA Secretary at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, or emailed to zbasec@hydeparkny.us. The ZBA is expecting to have a resolution at the August 26th meeting. Just to inform the applicant, if we were doing all this in person, we could wrap it up tonight, but because we're using electronic communications, we legally have to allow the public the opportunity to comment. And so we can't wrap it up while we're doing this. Maybe no one wants to comment, but we have to make that provision as part of the requirements.
I understand.
Okay. And so may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion, Jim Agarwal.
Second,
Jim Agrawal makes the motion. Well, may I have a second?
second.
Rich Perkins seconds the motion. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, we will see you next month. Ms. Macy McDonald? I didn't see that on the application, but we will, yeah, I see it on your name here there.
Mhm.
Okay, so we will see you then, and
Okay.
there's nothing more for us to do than wrap up our meeting, and can't say and go home. We're already home. Is there any other business?
No.
Such silence. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Rich Perkins makes the motion. May I have a second to the motion?
Second.
And Jim Agwell makes a second. And all in favor, raise their hands and say yes.
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 That meeting is adjourned.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night, folks.
Night.